This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast with original independent science fiction written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the Science Fiction Podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma, and I have Chapter 18 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest coming up on this episode. Do a little bit of a setup for you, and then a little book news, and then we'll get into the chapter as we head through our episode. Alibi Jones and his crew are investigating a ghost ship, which has a tendency to just sort of disappear. They've mounted a trans-space nullifier on the obsidian hull of the ancient vessel, in hopes its field nullifying powers will prevent the old ship from jumping away. Now, Alibi is leading a small team into the ghost ship. They're still inside of an attached airlock and emergency shelter that a previous Solar Alliance mission, one that failed, installed years ago. As they powered up the lights and gravity in the emergency shelter, Alibi looked up to see a screaming frozen face coming right down at his. That's where we left things off, and that's where we'll pick things right back up as we get into Chapter 18 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, coming up on this episode of Glow in the Dark Radio. Well, I actually have some good book news to share on this episode. Good news for a change. The Adventures of Alibi Jones, the paperback of The Adventures of Alibi Jones, 6 short stories, is once again available. I have gone through another printer and distributor without any problems, and once I made it available, it got picked up everywhere. Now, this new printing is the exact same book it's always been, since 2019 when it came out. It's the same book it's continued to be as an ebook this whole time. Same 6 short stories: Blind Eye, Father's Day, Vacation, In Over His Head, The Wishing Stone, and Christmas Present. All of those are comic book story adaptations from my scripts, with new adaptations of Blind Eye and Alibi Jones In Over His Head done at that time for that collection. And Alibi Jones, A Christmas Present, I kind of wrote simultaneously as a comic script and as a short story. So that's a little different. I do have to admit, it was nice to see all the big online retailers pick up the paperback as soon as it was available. They picked it up quickly. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, and a whole bunch more. All the links, I've got links. They're at Books to Read. That's books, the number 2, read, books2read.com/Alibi Jones 6 shorts. That's books2read.com/Alibi Jones 6 shorts, all one word. Now, I don't even know that anyone is going to even buy a copy of this, but at least now it's available again, if anybody wants one. So that's my good book news. And once again, I want to thank patrons for helping me keep this all going. You guys are the best. Prices keep going up. I caught one of the hosting sites charging me more for something. I was like, hey, wait, I don't use that. But yeah, man, everybody's out for cash. And I suppose I am too, by asking you to become a patron if you can and help out the podcast. Just go to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio, and you can become a patron for $2, $5, or $10 a month and help support the podcast. I do appreciate your help. I try to get you early episodes at the very least, although this one isn't quite as early as I'd like, but still, hopefully early. That's all I've got for book news, so we're going to get into Chapter 18 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
50 years ago, Mira, humankind's last hope to find new resources, departed the solar system. 7 years into her mission, she disappeared. She has returned. SNR Black, a Sol Federation Marine Corps vessel, is sent to retrieve her from certain destruction in the Kuiper Belt beyond Pluto. What they find will change humankind forever. From Parsec award-winning author Paul E. Cooley, Derelict, Marines, Part 1 of the Derelict Saga, combines military sci-fi, space opera, mystery, and suspense to create a journey you won't forget. Podcast available at shadowpublications.com. Paperback and ebook available from amazon.com. Some mysteries shouldn't be solved.
Now here's Chapter 18 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on Glow in the Dark Radio. Whoa! Ow! Alibi shouted. He dodged a man's falling body as the artificial gravity turned on inside the small emergency shelter. The corpse bounced off him and hit the floor, skidding face down. Kat looked on, seemingly amused. Emily's eyes were wide, pupils so large they almost looked black. Alibi tried to calm himself. Adrenaline raced through his system. Can't let myself get spooked by that. Is everything okay? Humphreys called on the EVA suit's comms. Just heard a scream over there. We are fine, Kat said. A shock and a surprise, that is all. Not to worry. Very good then. Humphreys out. Didn't see him, Alibi said. Sorry. Don't be, Emily said, looking down at the body. Pretty big guy. She looked around the shelter. Maybe we should turn the artificial G back off. Good idea, Alibi agreed. He walked over to the shelter's control panel and dialed back gravity's pull. Kat opened up another body bag. The three of them wrapped up the man's corpse. That's 2 of the crew, Alibi said. Sing and Win, I think. Where are the others? Emily asked. A good question, Kat said. But then there must be more to explore beyond the other airlock door, inside of the alien vessel. Wonder how far into the ship they got, Emily said. Let's find out, Alibi said. Get your light bars ready. They turned them on. Alibi did an instinctual check of the main seams and pressure of his EVA suit before heading over to the shelter's second airlock, in the wall opposite where they'd entered. Never hurt to double check. He opened the airlock. Alibi, Kat, and Emily floated into the small space. As the inner door closed behind them, the outer door opened. All vacuum. No need to equalize atmospheres. Ready for your first real look at the insides of the alien ship? Alibi asked Kat and Emily. A rhetorical question. Alibi didn't wait for an answer before he propelled himself out of the airlock and into the inky space inside the derelict. Alibi played his light bar around the immediate area. He couldn't see far. The pitch black beyond ate up the now seemingly feeble light from the light bar. What's the word I'm looking for? It looks gooey, Alibi said, amused by his first impressions. What? Kat asked. He floated up beside Alibi. Did you say gooey? Emily asked as she joined them. They shone their light bars around the space to see what detail they could. The interior seemed to be made of the same material as the exterior walls. The cables, threads, and strands inside parted and wove back together to form an oval-shaped space about 30 feet wide and 8 feet high, extending back about 50 feet. Hard to tell in the darkness. Some strands and threads of the black material stretched between floor and ceiling. Like melting cheese when you lift it off a pizza, Alibi said. Except black and hardened. Well, still looks gooey. Burnt cheese? I can kind of see that, Emily said. And now I'm kind of hungry.
I do not like it, Kat said. It is like being inside of a slightly flattened tube.
The light from Alibi's light bar caught sight of an actual cable. Look, Alibi said. Power cable. He shined the light bar's beams on the cable and followed it to where it ended, at a lighting fixture attached near the top of one of the larger black strands. Following the cable back, he found it was plugged into the exterior of the emergency shelter. They were definitely working in this space, Alibi said. Looks like they might have pressurized this section. Kat floated down into the darkness at the end of the room and disappeared. Kat growled from somewhere out of sight. Kat? Alibi called after him. Kat's head reappeared from a hole in the side of the room.
There is another smaller tube branching off from this one, Kat said, and a third body.
Alibi then found the fourth crew member's corpse in a second side tube off the main space. Emily discovered a third, empty side room. There was no sign of the ship's original inhabitants. Alibi, Emily, and Kat surveyed the space and the modifications made by the earlier party on board. During their explorations, the first crew ran power to the main area and the 3 side rooms and set up emergency lighting. They also sealed off the ends of the main flattened tube and pressurized it, creating a working, living environment inside of the alien space. Looks like they made themselves at home, Alibi said. Cozy.
Perhaps that made them too comfortable, Kat noted.
That cheerful thought brought the conversation to a fast close. After a moment's silence, Alibi cleared his throat. Okay, he said. Let's finish this part. Kat? Kat again lifted off and opened up his EVA suit's backpack. He took out 2 more body bags. The 3 wrapped the 2 remaining bodies in the bags. They then brought all 4 of the corpses back on board the cruiser.
They must have relied on the air system of the shelter to fill that sealed-off section of the alien ship with atmosphere,
Kat said, as they finished laying the bodies of the dead in the cruiser's cold storage in the cargo hold. Maybe so, Emily said. Shelter systems could have filled a space that size, no problem. But something's bothering me. She looked from Kat to Alibi to make sure Alibi was listening too. They were stranded in there, after the alien ship jumped or whatever. Why would they keep filling that space with air? We found 2 of the dead in the alien section beyond the shelter. But if the atmosphere was running out, wouldn't they have closed things up to conserve air? Could be something killed them before they realized they were running out of air, Alibi mused. There was no sign of that, Emily countered.
Perhaps it happened very quickly, Kat offered, when the airlock was open.
Gotta hope they weren't sloppy enough to leave it all open like that, Alibi said.
Ahem.
A voice cleared its throat in their ears. Humphreys interrupted over the comm. These were top-notch project scientists, he said. They would not have been sloppy. Maybe the autopsies back at the project will show something, Alibi said.
Does the project get the bodies?
Kat asked.
Or the safe?
I'm giving these folks back to the project, Alibi said. We'll let them figure it out from there. These were all project people. The project will know what to do. Makes sense, Emily said, I guess. Alibi, Emily, and Kat closed up cold storage. They made their way back to the airlock so they could change into their regular clothes and store their gear. As they got out of their EVA suits, Alibi noticed Kat and Emily both looked worn down. It was a heavy duty, recovering the dead. Hey guys, Alibi said, why don't you 2 take a break for a couple of hours? Thanks, Emily said. That was... thanks. Kat merely nodded. The 2 of them went off to their cabins. Alibi headed for the bridge. Hello, Alibi, Dr. Humphreys greeted him as he entered. Some fascinating footage from your suit cams, I must say. Although, it is quite sad to see old friends like that. Hopefully that's the worst of things, Alibi said. We've placed the bodies in cold storage for the trip home. Alibi sat down in the pilot's seat with a sigh, realizing he was a little worn out too.
Well, there is a certain closure to having found them, Humphreys said. They're no longer missing. A somber silence hung in the air between them. Lenora Schwald's arrival on the bridge shattered it. "Captain Al!" she almost shouted. "Your Aunt Anita is a wonderful woman!" "What?" Alibi was shocked to hear Schwald even mentioning his aunt. "Why? Were you talking to her? Why were you talking to her?" Alibi demanded. He thought about the possible answers and didn't like any of them. "You know, for someone who ran the Solar Alliance, she's really quite down to earth," Schwald said, half ignoring Alibi. "Why were you talking to my aunt?" he asked again. "I asked her if she could persuade you to let me go over onto the other ship," she said, locking eyes with him. "You went over my head with my aunt?" he asked. "My orders came from her office in the project," Schwald said. "I was reporting in." "You were going over my head," Alibi said. "This is the last thing I need. Hope you can read my mind, 'cause right now I'm thinking things I can't say out loud. You..." He was fuming. The comm alert sounded. Alibi's Aunt Anita was calling back. "If you'll excuse me," Schwald said. She turned to make a strategic exit. She looked over at Humphreys. "I have to go get my mat ready," she said, sarcasm heavy in her tone of voice. "Is she always like this?" Alibi asked Humphreys after she was gone. "Sometimes worse," Humphreys said. "Not that you would, but don't make the mistake of sleeping with her." "Really?" Alibi said. "You and her, you two?" Humphreys nodded. He grinned, then frowned. A look of remembered horror flashed in his eyes. "It was a long time ago. She's a manipulative woman," Humphreys said, "and a bit smothering." The comm alert was insistent. "I see," Alibi said. "Hey, I've got to get this." "Of course." "Aunt Anita!" Alibi greeted his aunt on the comm. "Alibi?" she replied. "Everything okay?" "So far," he told her. "The alien ship hasn't gone anywhere. We've recovered the bodies of the 4 lost crewmen. They're on the cruiser now. We've placed the large transspace nullifier on the outside of the alien craft. Both nullifiers are running. So far, there's no power drain, and no sign of any glowing green ghosts either." "Why is Lenore Schwald calling me, Alibi?" she asked, blunt as always. "Can't you handle your people?" "I don't think Ms. Schwald considers herself anyone's people, Aunt Anita," Alibi said. "She called you while we were over recovering bodies. Couldn't really stop her. Sorry." "Show me you're sorry," his aunt said. "Do as she asks." "What?" "That's why she's there, Alibi," his aunt explained. "Dr. Humphreys should be over there too, unless conditions change. Things have been okay, you said. If things are okay, send them over." "Okay," he said. "We'll work on pressurizing the section the last crew sealed off over there." "Good. Do it," she said. "And Alibi." "Yes, Aunt Anita." "Don't let that shrill woman call me again, you hear me?" "Yes, Aunt Anita." "Good luck, Alibi." "Goodbye," she said. The comm shut off. Alibi was trying to control his temper. The primitive part of his brain wanted to kill. "Do you think they'd notice if we brought a 5th body back with us?" Alibi joked with Dr. Humphreys. Humphreys laughed and mimicked Schwald. She's really quite down to earth," Humphreys said. "My aunt was a politician, the top politician in the SA. She got really good at telling people what they thought they wanted to hear," Alibi said. "She always seems nice, even if she's telling you to do something horrible. Trust me, I know." Humphreys laughed. "Is it horrible over in the ship? I would like to go and have a look around," he admitted. "Not horrible," Alibi said. "Strange. It's all curves." "I saw that on the footage," Humphreys said. "I'm already speculating as to what the aliens looked like." "And?" Alibi asked. "Probably rounded in some way. Maybe liquid. Hard to say yet," Humphreys said. "I'll be able to learn more if I go over there." "Liquid?" "I hear you, Doc," Alibi said. "I need to grab some sleep. We'll see if we can pressurize the alien ship in the morning." The first human crew on the alien shipwreck had done their job well. and Alibi and his crew were able to fill the alien section full of air on their first try. It was simple. They opened both doors of the inside airlock on the shelter and turned on the shelter's air system. There were a few small leaks to seal, made evident as the atmosphere built, but for the most part, the work done 5 years before held. Air filled the small modified section inside the alien ship. "Do you know, I still have that headache, Captain Al," Lenora Schwald said, as Alibi prepped her to cross through the airlock into the shelter and the alien ship. "I know what that's like." "Just can't get rid of some headaches," Alibi said. Emily was behind Schwald and rolled her eyes at Alibi's subtle dig. Schwald ignored it or missed it. "Hope it doesn't interfere with my attempts to make contact," she said. Schwald had traded her usual flowing dresses for a smart jumpsuit, but was indeed carrying her mat. Dr. Humphreys strolled up. Good as his word, he was still dressed as before. "Ready?" He sounded excited. "Let's go." Alibi led them into the airlock. The doors closed behind them. "There's gravity in the shelter section, but none outside, in the ship itself," Alibi warned them. "Not sure you're going to be able to actually sit on that mat, Miss Schwald." "Please, Captain Al, I've told you before. Lenora," she said. "As always, I'll make do." The airlock doors opened on the shelter. Alibi led them through it to the second airlock. Alibi continued to go over details with his two civilians as they waited for the next airlock to work. "Want to be sure they have some idea what they're getting into. Plus, if I'm talking, Lenora Schwald isn't." "There is emergency lighting," Alibi said. "We found we couldn't turn the lights up too high. The inside surfaces are highly reflective. If the lights are too bright, it gets kind of crazy in there. Best to keep them a little dim. Okay, through here." Alibi guided them out of the airlock, the three floating into the extraterrestrial space. "Wow," Schwald said. "Like some kind of black marble alien cathedral." "All curves," Humphreys said. "So organic. Like being inside of someone's stomach." "Stomach? No thanks," Alibi said. "Don't feel like getting digested today. You did say it was inert, right, Doc?" "Indeed," Humphreys said. "Or I wouldn't have said that." "Wonder which of us would give it the most indigestion." "You said there were side rooms, Captain Al?" Schwald asked. Alibi showed her to the third side room discovered, the one in which they'd not found a body. Schwald unrolled her mat, but it rolled back into its spiral shape and floated up by her head. She reached up to snatch at it and lost her balance. Alibi steadied her. "I'll make it work, Captain Al," she said. "You sure?" "Positive," Schwald said. "I'm fine." He turned to leave. "If you need anything, call me on the comm, Lenora," Alibi said. "Thank you, Alibi," she said. "Wonder if she'll sense anything." Alibi didn't see Humphreys when he returned to the main space. He poked around and found him in another of the side rooms, taking readings from the walls with a portable scanner. "Dr. Humphreys," Alibi said, trying to get his attention. Yes? Oh, Alibi," Humphreys said. "So interesting to see it up close. It's a more intricate silicate structure than I thought. Almost as complex a network of facets as some computer memory systems. Could be a kind of living ship? Organic tech? Well, inert, now, not living anymore. Really? We might want to try giving it power. See if we can bring it back to life," the xenobiologist said. "Just a small section, you know?" "Not sure that's a good idea, Doc," Alibi said. "Don't want to give it the power to jump or phase or whatever it does. Don't want us to be the corpses that some other crew carts off this hulk 5 years from now." Humphreys frowned. "I see your point," he said.
That was Chapter 18 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, part of the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. Well, Captain Al has set up his two guests on board the ancient alien vessel in the small pressurized section set up by the previous mission. I'm sure everything will be fine. Yeah, just fine. On the ghost ship. Yeah. We'll check back in on Schwald and Humphreys and Alibi Jones on our next episode. And once again, just quickly in book news, the paperback of The Adventures of Alibi Jones, 6 short stories, is once again available, and pretty much available everywhere. Anywhere online that you can buy paperbacks, it should be showing up. And there is a link if you want, Books to Read with the number 2, books2read.com/Alibi Jones 6 shorts. And again, a thank you to patrons for helping make all this happen, because you do. And if you want to become a patron, just head to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio and join for $2, $5, or $10 a month and help keep the podcast going. That is all for this week. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you again for listening to Glow in the Dark Radio. Glow in the Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2026 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, CC by NCND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow in the Dark Radio.